We're live. You're very welcome along to OTB AM this Tuesday morning. Bright-eyed and bushy-tailed. And racing goes ahead today at Cheltenham. That's one of the big bits of news. The other bit of news that I just broke to Owen is that Ronaldo Beckham Jr. is now a Cleveland Brown.
I'm just in my own little Cheltenham bubble at the moment that I've heard nothing else that happens in sport. Except for like Champions League last night. I didn't even go onto ESPN.com this morning or anything to check what might have happened.
Yeah.
You could also be lying to me. Because it just seems so ridiculous that Odell Beckham Jr. is a Cleveland Brown, but it's true.
Yeah, a 2020 first and third round pick and Jabril Peppers, a safety. And that's all it took.
Well, yeah, that's all it took, but...
this year's first and third.
The man is severely injury prone, is he not?
Not really. He's had 2 injuries in 4 seasons.
Not bad for an NFL player, but they've been 2 season-ending injuries, right?
Yeah.
2 years ago, I remember, shot the lights out for the first couple of match weeks, had him in my fantasy football team, and then my season went down the toilet with Odell Beckham Jr.'s season. I guess the thing is, the New York Giants are in such a terrible state at the moment that joining the Cleveland Browns is actually a step up, given that there's hope and given that there's a quarterback that the whole city can get behind, and there's light at the end of the tunnel in Cleveland.
Yeah, I mean there is. They've bought 6 or 7 amazing players over the course of the last few days. They've massively beefed up their offensive line and defence, so they're going to be great. It's mad that we're talking about this. We should be talking about loads of other stuff because there's lots for us to talk about on today's papers, including the poll of polls, the tip of tipsters.
Yeah, cutting through the noise.
Yeah. How did you do yesterday, On?
Is what I do.
You were the most prepared Cheltenham gambler of all time, so you must have made a fortune.
Right, so let me take you through what happens. So 7 races, obviously, on a Cheltenham day. Isn't that right? And yeah, 7 races. So I bet X amount on each race. You're supposed to not do this. You're not supposed to bet on every single race. But I defied all logic because I had done hours and hours and hours of research from 6 a.m. that morning to actually pick a winner and a place in some instances in each and every race. So I put down X amount of money, and how much of the X amount of money do you think I got back?
You put down a monkey on each race and you got 0 monkeys back.
Well, exactly. I lost everything. I lost every single penny.
Oh, God.
Didn't even place with a single bet. It was horrific. It was a bloodbath out there, and I'm very much coming into the studio this morning with my tail between my legs. Screw Cheltenham is what I say. It's the worst sport in the world. I hate this.
It's no fun when you're losing, is it?
No, it's not. It's absolutely appalling.
It's the opposite of fun when you're losing.
It's it's harrowing. Good thing I'm not a big bettor. It's all kind of little bets here and there, which I say at the time, it's only a bit of fun, until it's not. Until it's actually, no, even though it's a small amount of money that I've lost.
When the fun stop, I think is the phrase you're looking for.
Well, it's not nowhere near that level. This is, it's truly the only time of year that I ever do kind of place a bet. So I guess I'll just enjoy being in this very bitter state of mind for the next couple of days. Unless, of course, it all turns around today. We will be updating our tipster table very shortly indeed.
Yeah, and everybody wants to know what the story is. I think that as the week goes on, that people get more and more interested in the tips, but it's the quality of the tips. There were a few particular tipsters who stood out yesterday. Yeah,
we can do our tipster power rankings actually. Here's a top 5 tipsters from yesterday. So in at number 5, we've Robbie Power.
Who's named after him, and he's number 5 on the rankings.
Well, exactly. He's writing in the Herald this week. He had 2 wins. He had Classical Dream and A Plutard, who of course was Rachel Blackmore's winner yesterday. At number 4 then we had Matt Chapman, who's writing in The Sun. You might also know him from the telly. He tipped Beware the Bear and A Plutard as well. And then Brian Flanagan in at number 3 as well, also with 2 winners. Classical Dream and Beware the Bear were his 2 winners. So out of the 3 of them, they all had 2 winners, but Brian Flanagan's were the biggest outsiders. And at number 2 then, we had Tom Segal, who I put in at number 2 because he had 1 winner only, but he had 3 places. So a pretty good day if you were following him yesterday. His winner was Espoir Dallin, and at number 1, by a country mile really, an unbelievable day for the Guardian's Chris Cook. He had 3 winners and 2 places. His winners were Classical Dream, Roxana, and Beware the Bear. Roxana in particular.
Yeah, well, Roxana doesn't, come on. No, Roxana's a complete fluke.
It depends on how you view tips. It was either an absolute masterstroke or it was a complete fluke.
Well, should have been beaten. Ruby goes down at the last. If Ruby doesn't get in at the last, it's a place.
Thing is,
it's a 10 to
still
1
two
place.
winners in 3 places, even if Roxana comes second. So Chris Cook would still be number 1. He wasn't putting his hopes on Roxana to top this particular table, but I'm sure he's delighted this morning. The Guardian's Chris Cook, and we'll have his tips for you again this morning very shortly indeed.
Yeah, we should publish that graphic, and then everybody can tweet us their own tips underneath it, and they can go and follow whoever it is today, and we'll be putting up the story with all of.
Yep. It's ready to rock. It's out there. There's a couple of interesting ones once again today in terms of horses that are being backed quite heavily. Like the big one today is the Queen Mother Champion Chase, which ironically is the race which will probably garner the least amount of money. I'm not sure if maybe that's a very uneducated thing to say. Maybe there'll be plenty of people who'll be betting in the market without Altior, because it seems that Altior is an unbackable favourite in that. An each way bet on Min has been tipped by a couple of tipsters this morning.
So, this is the front of the Herald. We're not doing the papers just yet, but it's FAI in green and the words farcical spelled out properly. So it's farcical with the FAI highlighted. So you know that it's the FAI who've been farcical here, according to the Herald headline this morning. Irish football legends have branded the decision to name England footballer Declan Rice the FAI Young Player of the Year an embarrassment. Kevin Kilbane is the person they're talking about. He did this. Have a look.
I'm finding it hard to believe. I can't wait to hear what Kev Kilbane has to say.
Kevin, we had so much, talk about heartache, you provided most of it, but we did discuss it and turn it back and forwards, and the decision happened and we moved on. We thought, this seems like a really unnecessary sting in the tail, doesn't it?
Not now saying there, maybe give it somebody else. Just scrap the award. If there's nobody else, we are struggling for underage players. We know that. Scrap the award. Don't have the award. We don't need to. I think it's an embarrassment, personally. So we've been embarrassed enough as it is. So if we're going down this road now, I know. I think it's one of the... Tommy, don't get me started on it, because there's too much to talk about, and let's just leave it. I think we have to move on from it. He's gone. He's an English player now. He is English. He's declared for them. That's it. Thanks very much.
You're speechless about it, which I think is a good thing on this in this juncture.
Yeah,
Nathan Murphy was part of the judging panel to select that award. We'll talk to Nathan a little bit later on about it. What do you think?
Well, they're right. The correct person has been given the award. He was probably Ireland's best player last year, let alone Ireland's young player.
Is he also going to get the senior award then?
We don't know.
That's embargoed.
They're not at liberty to reveal that.
Yeah. What about Kev's point? Don't have an award.
Screw that.
We would have given this to Declan Rice, but he's an English player, so he can't win the Ireland Player of the Year.
The award is bigger than any person who defects away from Ireland, is what I say.
Except it's not.
It's a small deal.
No, seriously, you can't be. I think it's mad that the decision was followed through by the journalists, has put the FAI in the situation, and I just think they've walked the FAI into a situation that isn't of their own making. Do I run the line tomorrow afternoon at the FAI Young Player of the Year? Declan Rice is named to the England squad, asks Philip Egan. Yes. And then Declan Rice was the best young Irish player last year, says Joe. Why be petty? Dead right to give him the award. The only laughing stock is international football. I mean, I don't agree with that. I think that you've made the decision to have an award ceremony, and that at the end of it, you've got to go and say, oh, you're not Irish anymore, but we're still giving you the award because you were when you... Well, come on, it's like semantics. Declan Rice was voted the FAI Young Irish Player of the Year for 2018. He was an Ireland international when he was selected. Since then, he opted to become an England international. Therefore, he's no longer eligible, so the award should have just been scrapped by the FAI, says Stephen Doyle. That was the bit that I have the most sympathy with. Neil O'Riordan, who was on the jury, says, I was on the jury which selected Declan Rice for Young Player of the Year, as was our own Nathan. Fully aware of how ridiculous it looks now, but we were asked to pick the best under-25 player in 2018. You could not have given it to anyone else on that basis. I wasn't going to change the vote because it looks bad. What about changing the vote because he's no longer eligible? He has no longer got the criteria to be eligible to win the award. It's now 2019. You're giving him the award in 2019. He is no longer the best young Irish player. He might have been the best young Irish player last year, but we're doing it in real time now. What was the last one? The last one underneath that was from Darren, was it? Let me stick that back up. To be fair to the FAI and the Soccer Writers Association, 2018 was a brutal year for Irish football. Declan Rice was easily the best young player. He deserves the accolade. I would say past tense, but we'll get Darren in studio a little bit later on and we can have that chat too. It doesn't make any sense to give him the award anymore. It just doesn't. Scrap the award or give it to the number 2 or
Maybe this is all kind of employed to make Declan Rice squirm.
Well, I'd say Declan Rice doesn't care.
Well,
I mean, the whole point is Declan Rice doesn't care enough, right? He just doesn't give a shit about Irish football because he doesn't care.
he cared enough to torture us with the length of his decision-making process, didn't he?
We knew straight away.
Well, that's quite kind of that's revisionism there from you.
I knew straight away. When the day it
You
happened, he
didn't.
said,
You suspected straight away.
"No, we knew. Hang on a second. There was no equivocation. It was, this is over. This is completely done. You can check the tape. We have tapes."
No, that's you kind of putting on a front. Deep down, there was a soft centre that was thinking to yourself, Declan Rice will come back and will play for Ireland once again. Definitely there was. You definitely. We all believe that deep down.
No, we all didn't.
Hold on a minute.
Some of us have been around the block a bit, Owen, and can see the type of behaviour that comes from. You've never been in love yet, have you?
Call me naive, but I expected Declan Rice. How have we got back into the situation? How have we got back into the situation about Declan Rice's decision again? What was the initial point we were trying to make here? I can't even remember. The point is that Darren's right, that he was the best footballer last year. The award is for last year, and he deserves the award for fulfilling that criteria.
Giving him the award after he has made his decision is actually not a defensible position. It doesn't make any sense. He was the best player, fine. He is no longer Ireland qualified. You can't give him an award for Irish players.
But his award is for his performances in a green shirt.
But it's not. It's best young Ireland player. And he's not an Ireland player anymore. Whatever about him once playing for us, he made the decision not to wear the new, lovely, shiny New Balance jersey. No. Sling your hook, mate.
I think it's not kind of hilarious. No, sorry, the initial point that we kind of forgot here was that this is all a ploy to make Declan Rice squirm. Obviously, that's obviously not the ploy, but if that's the unintended consequence, then are we not a little bit cheery about that?
He's not squirming. He doesn't care.
Well, it's good.
He doesn't care. That's the worst part of it. This is the type of oh, we got attention. We got his attention again before he goes on to captain England in a World Cup or something. Come on. It's the stupidest thing ever.
Well, we are, he will be notified. It's his inbox going to ping from his agent saying, congratulations, mate. You're the Soccer Writers Association of Ireland Young Player of the Year. Imagine if he showed up. Imagine if he came, the reaction he would get. Boo.